Good morning, everyone, and welcome to your 10 a.m. update on Hurricane Wilma here in Indian River County. We have some new information and some updated information to provide to you this morning. Let me briefly go over some of the things that I need to cover, and then we will go over the power issues, the phone service, and things like that. First, I want to give you some phone numbers this morning, and I will repeat those at the end of the press conference for this particular press conference, but we're getting to the point now where phone service and the power is being restored, and you may need to get some further information. If you are going to file an insurance claim or you're having any problems with your insurance company whatsoever, the Florida Insurance Service has set up an 800 number that you can call if you're having any problems with your insurance company, and that number is the same as we used last year, and that is 1-800-22-STORM. 1-800-22-STORM. That is a number in Tallahassee for the Insurance Commissioner's Office, and you can call that if you're having any problems at all with your insurance company whatsoever. They will be the people that will assist you in that matter. Also, I want to remind everyone that while we're not included in the Small Business Administration declaration at this point, we are a contiguous county to a county that has been declared a Small Business Administration disaster area, which of course would be St. Lucie County. So that means that Indian River County small businesses are eligible for disaster relief from SBA. If you feel that you need low interest loans or some assistance from SBA, you can either go to their website at www.sba.gov, or you can call their 800 number at 1-800-659-2955. Again, that number, 1-800-659-2955. Now, keep in mind, if you are a small business, most of the disaster aid that SBA will provide is in the form of low-interest loans. They do not have any grant monies available for immediate assistance, but that is an avenue for you to obtain assistance if you have had damage to your business, especially with the power outages that we've had. You may need some assistance in that, and they will be happy to help you out. We have once again added to our application to FEMA to try and get individual assistance declaration in Indian River County. I submitted the information this morning back to the state of Florida and to Washington, D.C., requesting assistance due to the escalation of problems because of power, and hopefully the additional information that we're providing them this morning will be enough to include us. There's been no change in the individual assistance declaration since a couple days ago. Everything south of us, St. Lucie County south along the East Coast, has been declared, and we're hoping that maybe by later today we'll receive that disaster declaration, and then you'll be able to call that 800 number if you have losses you want to report to FEMA. But for right now, we have not been declared. That is still in the hands of Washington, D.C. and the President of the United States, and we are waiting to hear if that declaration will be extended to include our county. At the 4 o'clock briefing, we will have more information on that for you. Remember, FEMA inspectors are here now. They are in Indian River County. They are going throughout the county to observe any of the damage that we had. We have a list of numbers and street addresses of people that had what may be considered moderate to major damage, so they may be coming to your home. If they do come to your home, they will be clearly identified as FEMA. They will have picture ID cards identifying them as FEMA. If someone comes to your home and says that they are FEMA but does not have any identification, do not let these people in your home. The FEMA inspectors will have identification. They are well familiar with the need to have that for you. If you suspect that there may be someone fraudulently representing themselves as FEMA, call 911 immediately, and law enforcement will take care of that for you. But if the inspectors do come to your home, you can speak to them. You don't have to speak to them. They will be asking you just amounts of damage, that type of thing, but you are under no obligation to provide any personal information to them if you don't want to. We're just trying to get that declaration, and hopefully everything will go smooth, and we'll have more information, as I said, on that later this afternoon. As far as Indian River County, all schools are open, and there'll be more information on that from the school district in a few minutes. Actually, 73% of the traffic lights in Indian River County have now been restored. They're still in the process, actively doing that, getting them either restored or getting them replaced, depending on the intersection. But we still do have some areas that either due to traffic lights down or due to the lack of power. We still have areas that are still under that four-way stop procedure, so make sure you use caution when you're approaching those intersections. As we continue to go through today, we are going to collect more information from FEMA on the actual debris situation in Indian River County. That is one of the things that they're inspecting today. Debris clearance is going to be something that we're kind of waiting for FEMA to give us their interpretation of the large debris situation in Indian River County. Once we get their interpretation of it, it's going to be easier for us to advise you on what we will do with the large tree debris and that type of thing. For household garbage is being picked up throughout Indian River County. The municipalities are doing it also, so put your household garbage on the curbside like you normally would, especially items that may be spoiling that are in your refrigerator and they've spoiled because of the lack of electricity. It's time now to go ahead and remove those things. Get them out of there. You don't want to have a health hazard. Make sure you get them to the side of the road. At this point, that's what I wanted to cover to begin with, and I want to have the other agencies come up because we do have additional information on some of the things that are happening in the county today. I want to go ahead and start with the school district so that they can give you an update on what's occurring with the schools and the events over the weekend.
Good morning, Patty Vasquez, School District of Indian River County. School is back in session today. All schools are open and all is well. We are very happy. On behalf of the superintendent and his staff, I want to thank FP&L and Vero Beach Power for your support in getting our schools up and running and helping our students and families return to normalcy. I want to thank Nathan McCullum for the opportunity to get the information out to the public through this venue. We'd like to thank our community for your patience and support. And we did everything that we could think of to communicate with our families and our community as far as from the school district. I'd like to invite anybody who has any suggestions for better communication or to improve communication from the school district to call me. My number is 564-3216. I'm the communication specialist for the district, and there's always room for improvement. So please feel free to call me if you have any suggestions to improve communications. That's all I have, except for one thing, football. I know everybody's interested in football this weekend. Vero Beach High School's football game has been canceled. They were going to play Palm Beach Lakes, and Palm Beach County is shut down still as a result of Hurricane Wilma. So that game has not been rescheduled yet. Sebastian River High School will play their game not tonight, on Saturday night at Sebastian River High School. They're playing against Westwood. And Monday, school will be back in session just as normal. So we hope everybody has a great weekend. Thanks, Nate.
Thank you. At this time, I would like Florida Power and Light to go ahead and give us an update. And I encourage our public, you're going to hear some new information from Florida Power and Light this morning. It's really important that you understand what is going on right now with the updated recovery. Go right ahead, sir.
Thank you, Nate. Good morning. Sandy Sanderson with the report from Florida Power and Light this morning. I have some very good news to report to you, and the first will be our customer counts. As of this morning at 9 a.m., we were down to 9,000 residents that were out of service in Indian River County, and that means that we've restored to date 32,600 customers that were originally out of service. You might know that, or might remember that after the storm's passage, there were 41,600 out of service. So we're at the 20% point. We've restored power to 80% of the residents that were out of power, and we're down to the last 20%. I'd like to, for those that have not witnessed previous briefings, I'd like to mention something to you about the November 8th target date. Now, we've published that as the date that the entire county will be restored, and that's the date that is still valid, but that date is the day that we expect the final half dozen or a couple handfuls of customers to be brought back into service. The vast majority of the residents that are now without power should receive their power prior to that date, and many substantially before that. So even though you're here November 8th, there's a very good expectation that you will have power long before that. A couple of things I wanted to mention to you. I'm going to take just a moment to kind of reiterate what the restoration process is for Florida Power and Light. Immediately after the storm passage, we have a prioritization that we go through to restore the customers. The first thing we do, of course, is make sure that our power plants and our transmission lines are providing the power to get to the neighborhoods. And once the transmission lines are functioning properly and bringing the power into our neighborhoods, they come to the substations. Those are those small stations that you see that are less than a block in size with the fence around it. And that's where we step the power down to levels that we can distribute throughout the neighborhood. We bring it out of that substation into neighborhoods with what we call feeder lines. So they are one of our major priorities after we've gotten the substations up and running. And they'll bring the power into neighborhoods, and then we have something we call laterals, which are off the feeders. And if you think of it as the feeder coming into a neighborhood, the lateral going down each street, and then once it gets down the street, it goes to a transformer on a pole, and that'll serve a few houses, 2-3 houses. That's the way our grid is set up. What we've done is we've, of course, gone through the power plant and transmission and substation issues. And once we started restoring power in general, the highest priority customers are our critical infrastructure. And that's, as you would imagine from the name, the hospitals, police, fire, those kinds of accounts. And we've got those done. And those, we have to make sure that we get the critical infrastructure in place so that the county can function. Well, now we're down, as you can see, we're down to, I think it was 9,000 was the number I quoted, and which means we're now going to be bringing a lot of the residential accounts back online, which is what we are very excited about, bringing those accounts online. However, there's something you need to know. Once we take those feeder lines I talked about in the laterals, each lateral that goes down a street, before we can energize that lateral, it's absolutely essential, no exceptions. We will not energize a line until we've had a visual inspection of that line to make sure that there are no safety problems with that line. So what you're going to see in the neighborhood now, starting now and going on for a while, will be trucks, FPL trucks or contractors or people from other utilities. As a matter of fact, we have 33 states and the country of Canada represented here helping us out. But the residents will see many times a truck driving down the street and go right by you. And that's because, in many cases, what they're doing is examining the line to ensure that it's safe to energize. So I want to make sure that residents know that this is by design and it's required before we can energize a line. We're not ignoring anybody. It's strictly a safety issue that we're performing that task. And that's good news, because we're at that point means that we're in the final stages of the restoration, which makes me very happy. Safety issues, if as we go along and we energize these lines that are coming down into neighborhoods, there is a line that's down that you notice, or for any reason you feel is a safety issue, I encourage you strongly to call it in. And you call it in by dialing 1-800, the number, the digit 4, and then spell out outage. Now that'll get you through, and it'll walk you through a couple of push buttons to get you to the spot where you can report these safety issues. We want you to do that. If you're out of power now, please refrain from using that line. I want to keep it clear for the safety issues. There will be a time in the near future when we ask residents that are out of power to go ahead and call in. But right now, we'll be picking up a lot of customers as we energize those lateral lines. And in the interest of keeping those lines free for the safety calls, I'd ask that you refrain from phoning that in until we tell you that we'd like you to do that. I think that pretty much concludes my report for this morning. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to address them. Yes?
The 1-800-4 outage, is that the number you're talking about?
Yes.
To report a safety problem?
Yes.
I tried to call it this morning because I can see trees on my line, and it doesn't give you an option right now. It doesn't give you the options that it did a couple of days ago. It just gives you an update, and that's it.
Yes, and the reason for that is because of the extraordinary numbers, the outages that we had. Let me just take a look here. System-wide, initially, we had 3,241,400 people affected, and the call volume that we got was just overwhelming. And what we had to do is take steps to get that to a manageable level. I think that if you call now, you may still find a frustration with not being able to get through, but if there is any safety issue, I would encourage you to be persistent and stay with, dial it a few times if you have to, but get through and let us know what the safety issues. If it's trees in the line, I wouldn't report that yet, because when we go out to restore an area, one of the things we've done is we will patrol that area, the line, and in many, many cases, there's tree work that has to be done before we are in a position to actually re-energize the line. So we'll handle that part when it's time to energize the line. We'll check for the trees. But what I'm more concerned about is if you have what you think might be a hot line or something of imminent danger, a pole ready to fall on a house, or something you think is eminently dangerous, we want you to call that in. Beyond that, if you could just refrain from calling in until we tell you that we're at the point where we want those, we'd appreciate it.
Do you have any information on the railroad crossings that were closed because of lack of power? Winter Beach?
I don't.
They've since been open.
They haven't opened. Okay, thank you. Okay. If there are no other questions, I'll sit down and I'll look forward to seeing you the next time. Thank you.
Thank you. City of Vero Beach Power.
Pete Lindbergh, City of Vero Beach. We're happy to announce that we show 100% of our customers are back with electricity. However, if we don't know that you're out and you're still out, please call 978-5000 so we can get you on record and get a crew to you as quickly as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, and congratulations to the City of Vero Beach on that achievement. We have a representative from Bell South here this morning. We went ahead and invited them to come up today because we want to be able to give you an update on those of you that have lost phone service so that you have an idea of when you can expect restoration.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here, Mr. McCollum. I just wanted to assure our customers that Bell South is working around the clock to restore service. We have brought back retirees, employees from other states, and also contractors. And as commercial power is restored, then more than likely your telephone service is going to be restored. However, if it's not, we do want to hear from you. But we don't rely on commercial power entirely because we do put generators at our remote terminals, and a remote terminal is like a small central office, and you've probably seen them on corners of streets and highways, a big box. Well, that is where you're served out of a lot. We're almost finished with the damage assessments in our area, and I'm talking from Brevard through Indian River County. Well, actually south, Miami-Dade through. But we're about 95% finished. We should have that finished today. And current assessments estimate that 929,000 out of 4.4 million customer lines have been impaired in the affected areas from Brevard County to Monroe County, and Monroe is the keys. And the majority of them are without electrical power. And then those remote terminals that I talked about, that when the backup power is depleted, and commercial power hasn't been restored yet, your telephone is going to go dead. So you could have had your telephone maybe 2 days after the storm, and then all of a sudden it goes dead, as I experienced. But as those remote terminals are replenished with diesel fuel, then it will come back up, or your commercial power. And just as my friend from many years ago in Broward County, Sandy Sanderson, told you that there is a priority, and first are the hospitals, the public safety, emergency management operations, repairing damage, and then we go, just like Florida Power and Light, and restore the most customers in the biggest areas that we can get. And if you happen to be, once we get into this restoration and pretty much finished, If you are the only kid on the block that doesn't have telephone service, well, we definitely want to hear from you, and I will give you some numbers at the end of this. And then as far as the actual time, the extent and the determination of the physical damage seen by the Bell South team will determine the actual time to restore the service, and that time varies by customer. And I'd like to take just a minute, if I can, and this was announced yesterday as far as customers who would qualify for particular credits or waivers during this time. During this time of the disaster relief to assist qualifying both residential and business customers impacted by the storm. Until November the 30th, service charges associated with providing dial tone service to a new or temporary location will be waived that means credited, as far as charges for a move back to your original location. Customers can receive 1 month free service for the following in the qualifying areas: Bell South Memory Call Service or Bell South Voicemail Service for business, which enables your calls to be answered and allows the caller to leave a message when you are unable to answer. You can retrieve your messages then from any touch-tone telephone. Remote access to call forwarding, which allows customers to activate or deactivate call forwarding from any telephone equipped with touch-tone. And of course, you would want to call forward to a telephone that had dial tone that was working. Call forwarding busy line, which automatically routes your call to another pre-selected telephone number when the line is busy. And Bell South Fast Access DSL customers can receive free unlimited backup dials so that they can access their email accounts from remote locations. So let me give you some numbers to call to report any outage. And again, I say that, if you don't have electricity, and if most of the neighbors on the street are still without telephone service, then that means that we're still doing the assessments and our people are out on the streets restoring as fast as we can. For residential lines, it's 1-877-737-2478. For business lines, 1-866-620-6900. For hearing impaired customers that use our TTY service instrument, 1-888-341-2355. And of course, if you do have access to a computer and electricity, you can go to our website, which is www.bellsouth.com/repair on the web. And that is our update for today. Thank you. Are there any questions? I'm sure you have one.
Yes, you didn't give your name.
Well, I'm sorry. I was told. No, I'd be glad to give you. Kathy McKenzie, and I'm a proud resident of Indian River County. That's the only question you have? Good.
Thank you.
Right, and I'm sorry, I don't have that information. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Our law enforcement update.
Thank you, Nate. Good morning, Jeff Luther, Indian River County Sheriff's Office. As Ms. Vasquez had said, the schools are open. Our school zones, all the lights appear to be working, but please, when you're going through school zones, slow down, be careful, watch for the kids. The four-way stops, as Nate said, with the traffic lights. If the traffic lights aren't working, which we still have several that are out, please use those as a four-way stop and be a little bit courteous to the other people around you, and hopefully we won't have any major accidents. The overall general consensus as far as law enforcement is concerned, we've had a real good response with the public from that, and the crime has been down and been very good. As far as fire prevention, they wanted me to mention that the candles still using where power outages are. Please be careful with those. We've still had the 2 fires that were caused by candles, and we really need to be cautious of that. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to call Fire Prevention Office. The other thing about the power being off and being repowered up with the generators, if you don't know that your generator is connected correctly to your house, shut it off, because when they repower that, we have had some fires caused by that situation. And don't forget, this weekend is Halloween. We are going to have extra patrols out there. We're having a DUI task force also. But the bottom line, we're getting back to some normalcy there overall from the storm. And Sheriff Raymond and the men and women of Indian River County Sheriff's Office and the local agencies would like to thank the citizens of Indian River County for helping us with their cooperation getting through this the disaster. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Red Cross, did you have any update this morning? Okay, at this time, we'll kind of recap. You've heard a lot of information today. I know you're most concerned about your power concerns, and I fully understand that. Let me give you the number for insurance problems again, 800-22-STORM, 1-800-22-STORM. Also, if you are looking for SBA assistance, you can go to www.sba.gov or 1-800-659-2955. I remind everyone that a burning ban is still in effect for Indian River County for yard debris, so please don't burn any of your yard debris. Continue to take things to the curbside. They will be handled as soon as FEMA is done with their evaluations. We'll give you more information on the large debris. Now, we are planning to have another update at 4 o'clock this afternoon, and we will have updates Saturday and Sunday at 10 a.m. We will only be doing one press conference on Saturday and Sunday. Until we have power restored to this county, we are going to give you updates every day and continue to provide you information on the restoration process. We don't want anybody wondering what's going on. We want to make sure that everyone is informed every day until we have that restoration done. Thanks very much for joining us today, and we'll see you at 4 o'clock.